Hey team, I told you that I would go live today for a little bit, so I'm here. I'm gonna give a couple of minutes to see if anybody's on, and just comment if you're on so I can make sure that somebody's here. And let's see, it says I can invite people, so let's try this. I haven't done this yet. Let's just shoot off some invites. Ooh, that makes it easy. Cool. Okay. I'm gonna stop. There we go. Don't want to just do everybody. Okay. All right. Hi, Louisa. Okay. Awesome. That was fast. So I know I created a quick little poll just to see what people wanted to see, and I know that's kind of there's a lot of things that people told me they wanted to see, so I'm going to try to combine some of them. And I know eyes slash eyeliner or mascara is something that people want to see, but I'm going to do a separate video talking about eyes because it's, hi Leah, it is such, there are so many ways to do eyes, and I think people can get overwhelmed with that. Hi Carly. So I want to just cover the basics for those of you that are new, or maybe you're just not really comfortable with foundation, or maybe not comfortable with cream foundation, or you just are struggling with it. Kind of shoot me your questions and tell me what you're struggling with. But I'm just going to start with how I get a really flawless finish. And my skin is not flawless. I have a breakout going on right now. I've got a lot of dry patches. So your client doesn't necessarily have to have perfect skin for it to look perfect. But the first thing that I want to show you is what we call the triangle of light. So if you've seen that term kind of thrown around in the makeup world, specifically in regard to highlighting and contouring, where I see a lot of makeovers, or I should say before and afters, not live up to their full potential. People will post before and afters and say, how does this look? Should I post it? Should I not post it? Does it look different enough? And yes, contour and blush placement, that's part of this. So one thing I notice when people are posting their before and afters and they're not quite, there's not that wow factor when you're finished. And some of it is just how it photographs. So keep in mind when you're doing it for a picture, you may have to do things a little bit stronger. Hi, Elizabeth. Just kind of going live here, random. Okay, Carly says, struggle covering up my dark under eyes. So a lot of that is color theory and just where we're putting the product and where we want to really cancel out those tones that we have under our eyes. Sorry, I'm talking with my hands. That's not working. And hopefully I have a baby that's going to realize I'm not paying attention to him, so I might have to hold him while I do this. But so I'm just going to start working while I'm talking. So triangle of light. I notice one thing that does not stand out when I see some of the before and afters. It's either not covering the darkness like Carly said, or you might even not have that much darkness there, but it's just not popping in pictures. And so you really want to see this area illuminated. So a lot of times what people are doing is really just trying to get product in this area. And so when it's all blended out, it's not really popping. It's, it's brightened, but it's not as bright as it could be. So when we talk about triangle of light, I'm gonna go a little heavier just so that you all can see. When Kara talks about that pie piece shape or that triangle of light, it's this area. You wanna pull this all the way down alongside your nose and really back up on top of your cheek, so all the way back to your hairline, if you can see that there. If you only do under your eye, then you're sometimes left with these circles, and it just does not bring the focus to our face the way we want it to. So you can see it in this area here. Sometimes that's going to be one highlight color with mascara. Sometimes that's going to mean you're going to pop a little bit of a brighter highlight color under there. So, and you can see I've got a little bit of redness going on. I just did a peel, so probably not a good idea right before this, but I'm just going to quickly do my highlight and contour while you are all on here, because I feel like if I just start talking, I'm going to talk way too long, and this is going to end up being like a 40-minute video. So kind of hard to see in that camera, so hopefully I get it blended here, but cover up my melasma. So when we're talking color theory, I think we've talked a little bit about this in other videos. If you have a blemish or you have a red, I've got a red birthmark here in the center of my forehead, or I've got some melasma above my lip, you're going to need to shade up just a little bit to really color correct that pigment or that redness. There's my perfector. And I know Lisa just did an awesome video about highlighting and contouring with your fingers and just blending in with a perfector, and that's actually how I used mascara like 4 years ago when it first came out. I didn't have that brush, and I didn't like the way that my brushes put it on, so I just blended it out with my perfector. Okay. My skin is peeling and dry because I just did that peel, so I'm sorry about that. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of do one side of my face really, so you can see right now. So do you see the way that light is bouncing off of my cheekbone? So you're not just seeing lightness in that half circle under your eye, you really want to see it all the way in this area. You want that light, when you're looking straight on, you want that light to bounce off this way. Oh, thank you, Leah. Oh my gosh, I don't feel like it. So in that same token, the contour, Louisa mentioned contour blush, or contour and blush placement. I see a lot of people either not make their contour strong enough for before and after pictures, or they bring their contour down too low. So you can, one way to remedy that is you can actually use your detail end of your detail hack. And I know we talk about feeling for the cheekbone, and a lot of people make that fishy face like this, but do you see what happens when I do that? Do you see where this line goes? Look what that just did. It just brought my face down, and we don't want to do that. So I see a lot of people do this in the group where they bring their contour and point it straight down at their mouth, and that does nothing for me. Do you see? I know this isn't blended yet. That's not what we want. Hi, Crystal. Okay, so, and this is something I've been wanting to say in the large mascara group forever, and I don't want to make anyone feel bad, but I do try to instruct when people ask for criticism, constructive criticism. I try to tell them, don't do the fishy face, because for most people it's not going to work. That's going to bring your face down, which is the opposite of what we want to do. So instead, feel for your cheekbone, and where your cheekbone is actually going, it's just kind of going to curve up towards your nostril. It actually is going to kind of cup. You just want to cup that cheekbone right there. So I don't know how well you can see this. I might go a little bit darker. Let's take some shadow in there just so you guys can see this. I know that's not normally where we put the shadow, but I want you to really, I'm gonna draw it super dark so you can see. Okay, so look what that did. That side has just lifted my cheekbone right up. Because you want that to curve toward your nose. Does that make sense? Someone tell me if that's coming through on video. And similar idea with the forehead contour. Awesome, Elizabeth. Okay. I have a prominent forehead, so I'm gonna do a heavier contour up here than most people probably need, especially if you have bangs like Louisa. You really don't have to go heavy with it. But a lot of times I see people either not do enough or it's too strong in this area. And so you really want to make sure that after you've done your contour, you're going back and blending that highlight to make it really seamless. So I can get away with a little bit more up here, but if your space between your brows and your hairline is not this big, then please don't do this much on the top. Okay, I'm gonna blend out that contour now so that you can see with blush. And blush is really, a lot of it is personal preference. So you'll see a lot of people take their blush and good, Priscilla. Yes, try it, let me know. I mean, everyone's face shape is different, so some people's cheekbones are more prominent, but even if they're not, that's still how they are shaped. So especially when people don't have a prominent cheekbone, to make it more prominent, you really want to get that curve, that kind of C curve in there. So with blush, my favorite way is just to really have them smile and really pop it right on the apple of the cheek, and that's just that fleshy part. Now, if you really love, yes, Louisa, bangs. I'm like considering it for, because I get so many breakouts there, so. Oh, Leah, oh my gosh, no I don't, but thank you. I got my grandma's cheekbones. Okay, so pop your blush right on top of there, and you'll see a lot of people really take it back. I would just encourage you to not go super heavy with that, because that's what they used to do in the old days before contour was really popular, before the contour tones were popular. They would actually contour with blush. So it's doable, but it's a different look, and it almost makes it look like you've been, like you're flushed all the way up or you've been hit in the face. So that's not what we want to see. We just want to see that youthful glow. So instead of having the blush go all the way up in this big stripe, let me just show you what I'm talking about while we're doing it. Let me just tell you what I'm saying not to do. Okay, see how that looks? I'm not kidding. I see women, especially women maybe older than 40 or 50, this is what they do with their blush, and they take it way up high, and what that does, yes, Louisa, it looks like I just ran into a door, or I have a really bad sunburn or something, and that's not what we're going for either. So you want to keep your highlight shade in that really high part of your cheek. So I'm all about blush. I'm all about going high on the, or heavier on the blush. That's totally fine, but don't bring it so high up on your cheekbone. Keep it really fresh and that natural flush right in here. Yes, Elizabeth says her Mary Kay mama taught her to bring it really high. Yes, that was totally cool in the 80s and 90s. And again, I'm not going to tell anyone that something is wrong. If you love it and you feel beautiful, do it, rock it. If you want to wear blue lipstick, do it. I'm not going to tell you can't. What I'm telling you is, for the average person, for most face shapes, for a more natural look, which is what mascara is all about, these are my tips and tricks. So keep that blush right here, looks really fresh. Keep your highlight as the focus up here. That's what really lifts your cheekbone. And I'm just using my fingers, because why not? We have every reason to use our fingers right now. Okay. Do it, but hashtag don't do it. I like that. Yes, every face is different. So I'm not about giving tons of rules. I'm just giving you what works for me and what works for my clients. What I see that looks best on a wide range of clients. So keep your highlight shade up here really high. That's what's going to lift your cheek. In general, you want to keep your blush about 1 to 2 fingers away from your nose. So again, if you get that blush really, really close over here, it can just start to look reddy or like your nostrils are red. So you want to really keep it away from your nose and mouth, if that makes sense. So just gonna keep blending this all in here. Okay, so that's that side. And see how my contour just doesn't quite look blended? You can still see that unblended line. So that's where I wanna make sure that when you're bringing you're getting a good ratio. I just wiped the contour all over my forehead. Okay. You really want to make sure that you're blending your highlight better in this area, at least going back with your perfector. Okay, so on this side, I want to show you too close to your nose, Crystal. Okay, yes, that's one area that I see. And so then it just gives that look as if it kind of takes the brightness away. So if you have to go back and even do your triangle after you're done with your blush and contour, if that's what helps you get that placement where you want it, then do it until you get it right. So, okay, so on this side, I want to show you, what did someone ask about covering their, Carly said about under eye circles. So everyone thinks they have darker circles than they really do, but what I would say is, when I talk about color theory, is yes, I can get away with one highlight all over, but if I really want it to pop, then I'm going to use a different color contour. And Andrea says, do you always contour first? I do. A couple of reasons. For me, I know I'm going to use less product, but especially when you're demonstrating for your customers, whether you're doing a video or you're doing it in person, they love to see that you're doing that contour first because it's different. And it shows them, hey, she's doing something different. What is this? This isn't just an all-over foundation. Secondly, it's just human nature. It's kind of hard to break that habit of covering your whole face in foundation. So if you start with that highlight color, it's just human nature. We're just going to end up doing way more than we need. It's like, let me highlight here, let me highlight here, and before you know it, you've done your entire face, which kind of defeats the purpose. So I do the contour first so that I can essentially tell them, okay, now we're just going to go back and do the highlight everywhere that we didn't put the contour. Louisa says a different color contour highlight. You mean under my eyes? Highlight, yes. I meant to get that under eye coverage, to get the optimal coverage, you may have to do a second highlight color, which I know a lot of us are already doing. Just use your best judgment when it comes to your client. If that's going to overwhelm them, or you feel like they're not going to understand where they're putting the two different highlights, then don't worry about it. Most people can just do one color of highlight, and so most people, that's what I start them off with, so that I'm not overwhelming them. Okay, so I've got my contour on. I don't even know if you can see this. Yeah, Louisa, if you use Moonlit all over, then you're probably good. Well, but no. Okay, so here's an example. This is a good example, Louisa, of even if you use Moonlit all over, even if you're super fair like me or Louisa. I'm using White Peach now, so not quite that fair. Even if you're really fair, the under eyes can sometimes benefit from a different contour color because, I'm sorry, I keep saying, is that why I said that earlier? Is that why you asked that? Because I said contour. Okay, if I put Moonlit under my eye because I go, because I want to brighten. I want you to look at what this looks like. I don't know how focused this is going to be. It's just not quite right. It's not actually covering. For me, it's not going to cover that purple tone because it's too pale, it's too ashy. So it might brighten just a little bit, but when I get my whole face done, you'll see there's still this little bit of purple there. Can you see that? So when I say color theory, I mean literally a color wheel. Go back to elementary school. And when you've got a bluish purple tone under your eye, you're going to look at the opposite color, which is typically an orange or a peachier tone. So you may, in Luisa's case, yes, it's not lifting. Like there's still that little bit of darkness right there. So white peach, let's say someone is moonlit all over, but you may need to actually pop a little bit of white peach just right in here to cancel out. It may have just enough of that peachy tone to cancel out that bluish yellow. So that's a case where someone could be moonlit all over and still need technically a warmer shade under the eye. Do you see the difference? Yes. Okay, so Luisa says white peach looks great under her dark purple eyes. I'm sure they're not dark purple, but okay, so see the difference there? Both of those eyes look more awake and lifted. So you really have to play around with the difference. If you feel like your highlight shade looks great all over and it's not lifting, it's not covering, or it looks patchy or dry. We've talked about the texture issues, but specifically for the under eye area, if it's not doing this, then you need to shade up, or it may even be a couple of shades. I actually had to use Mango on someone that was my complexion because her under eye circles were just very, very dark. And so I actually used Mango to correct that and then popped a little bit of white peach on top. So of course you don't want to do so many layers that it's that it looks heavy and cakey. So you really have to just play around with it, get your hands on their skin. Don't be afraid to try several different colors. Also make sure you're going all the way over here. I see a lot of people skip this part, and that's where we have that vein, that same thing with the lids. I don't typically do this because I use an eye primer for my lids, but same concept here. When you want to brighten your lid, when you've got a pink or purple lid, or you've got lots and lots of veins in there, watch how that peachy, warmer tone, it just cuts right through that purple. So just make sure you are looking for that. Make sure if it ever looks ashy or not brightened, that you need to check your shade and possibly shade up. Priscilla, I use the Laura Mercier Eye Basics, and I don't have it right here in front of me, but it's in a tube similar to, this is my old school mascara pearl illuminator, but it's in a tube similar to this, and they actually come in several shades is why I like them. I've used the Urban Decay, I've used Lorac, I've used several MAC paint pots. Everybody has a favorite. Those personally, I think they had silicone in them and they just didn't stay on for me. So Laura Mercier, it sets and your makeup will not budge, but it also has a tint like a concealer. But unlike a concealer, it doesn't have oil, so it's not going to slip and slide when you put your eyeshadow on. So I can link those products later. Hi JC, welcome. Okay, so I don't want this to go on forever, but throw your questions at me if there's something you want to see. Okay, so we went over triangle of light, went over contour and blush placement, we went over under eye coverage. Okay, and what I think the other thing I talked about is how to get that signature mascara glow. This is it. So when we talk about the triangle of light, I can always spot Kara's makeovers because they have a really prominent triangle of light. And maybe that's not for everybody. If you have a client that just wants a really natural look, it's not going to look quite that bright in there. But especially when you're thinking about photographs, even if it's before and after pictures, if you really wanted to show the difference between traditional makeup and mascara makeup, or no makeup and mascara makeup, that triangle of light is where you really want to focus, because that's what brings that glow, that's what lifts the face, that's what you see, that light bouncing off of the cheekbones. So that's probably my #1 tip for all of the makeovers that I see on the page that I think almost everyone could do a little bit more of, even if it's just for the picture, maybe not necessarily for every day, for real life. And then on to how to get, I think I mentioned how to get a second skin finish. So because I've gone a little heavier, maybe not blended quite as much as I normally would, I'm gonna just bring this down. I don't do a ton of nose contour for myself because I feel like it's already kind of slender, but just gonna do it. Okay. When I get up close, you're gonna see texture in my skin because I haven't done the finishing steps that so many of us know and love. So the first thing is when you're doing your highlight, when you're going around texture in the skin, when you're going around pores, do you see where I haven't quite blended because I was being super quick with it? Whether it's with this detail hack or it's with your 30-second hack, you really want to, I just think it's easy to get in here. Swirl and buff your brush in. That's what actually buffs the product around your pearls. Pearls. I'm looking at my pearl illuminator. Pores. Hey, Diamond. You're okay. Do you want to join us? It's like, why aren't you watching me? Okay, baby's gonna make a debut. Say hello. Is that a baby? Say hi to everyone. He's like, what is this really crazy setup you have? Say hi, Roman. Yes. Hi. Do you see all those people? Hello. Okay. Don't drink your fingers in my makeup. Okay? Okay, so swirl your brush into your pores. So really make sure, ooh, fingers in the makeup. Here, you can hold this thing. Swirl your brush into your pores. So especially with this brush, it really works well to get in there. I know he reached for it, but I gave him my powder puff instead. So we'll see how that goes. Swirl your brush in there. Same thing with blemishes. I'm not even right-handed. I'm doing this with my right hand. Swirl your brush into blemishes. So you want to swirl it in to get that texture and then tap so you're not moving all the product away. Same thing for under the eyes. Just really tap so you're not pulling and tugging on that area. But nostrils are really, nose pores are really where I notice texture. So that's the first step to actually get the product on there. And I know everybody has played around with different powder that works for them. It might be vanilla dust, it might be the air spun, it might be no powder. I'm really dry, so I don't love doing powder all the time, but I do it on my clients when I know that when they're not dry. Andrea says, will this help with large pores? Yes. Essentially, if your pores are large, you've got to fill them with, not that this is going to permanently clog your pores, but you really have to temporarily get that product buffed in and around your pores, or with something so pigmented like mascara, you just see pores and texture. So you have to make, sorry, I got a phone call. That's why we talk about the swirling with the brush, because you really want to buff it in to that texture. So try that. There's really nothing, we all think we have large pores, honestly, but there's really nothing out there that's going to shrink pores. There may be some newfangled laser treatment I don't know about. A lot of things will diminish their appearance, but there's really nothing that's going to make them disappear. But swirling that product in there is pretty close. So find a powder that you love. I'm not going to tell you there's one way to do it, because I know that's probably the #1 thing that we've seen posted on the group is how to keep your makeup on. So that's not really what this tutorial is about today. But to get that second skin finish, you have to find the balance between the product and how dewy or how matte you like it. So, but when we're talking about skin, honestly, skin is never matte naturally. It's not. So if you want it to look more skin-like, you have to find a way to do, to not make it super matte, because look, like that baby fresh skin, it does have a little bit of a glow to it. So you have to, you see the light bouncing off of it, and you see that lit from within glow. So a fully matte, fully powdered look, it's not wrong, it's just, it doesn't look like skin. So you have to find that balance for you, for what that looks like. So I would say a loose powder, very light application is going to give you that staying power with still having a skin finish. And then of course, more than powder, I recommend the Stay Spray, because it allows your makeup to go on flawlessly if you use it first like a primer, and it also keeps it on longer throughout the day. So that is pretty much it as far as my skin tips. I think probably the #1 thing too is just less is more, people. We tend to be really heavy with it, with product in general. We, at least in America, I think women are really, really heavy with makeup, and when you go to other parts of the world, or places like Europe, it's not, the emphasis is not so much on the face, on the foundation, it's on the skin, and then maybe having a fun red lip or a fun, bold liner. And again, that's not the only way to do it, but when you want a natural, fresh-faced second skin look, always swirl your product in with your brush, always go over with a perfector to just really press the product in. Oh, and I'm sure this is full of baby slobber now, but a puff, when you're setting with powder, I always recommend, this is Laura Mercier's signature velour puff, always press that into the skin with either your perfector or a puff, but always pressing it in is what's actually going to lock the makeup in. If you take a fluffy brush and dust it on, it just sits on top of the skin and sits on top of our pores and our little peach fuzz, and it doesn't actually lock the makeup in. So powder, press it on, swirl your foundation in with your brush, and Stay Spray are my tips for the flawless second skin look. So I think that's about it. I don't want to take too much of your time, and he is ready for a nap. So I'm going to go, but drop your questions in the comments, and I know everybody's wanting to see eyes and brows. So we'll go over that in another video when I have a little bit more time. It could be today, it might be another day, but let me know what I can help you with, and hope you all have a great day. Thanks, bye.